Hi, Mike Morales. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our platforms. I'm here in San Antonio. That gentleman out there is
Eric Zandona, Vancouver, Washington.
Eric, and I have been really pleasantly surprised and almost chagrined at La Leyenda Mezcal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is again, this is a mezcal. In Eric on his Reposado review explained to us the three. There are three main categories of mezcal as of 2017. One of them is just the category mezcal, which means you can make it any way you want, pretty much, and use a diffuser. Okay,
Yeah.
and then there is artisanal, which is again where the bulk of the market is right now in the United States, anyway. And there are certain stipulations on how you can process that. And then there's ancestral, and the ancestral is really the old school mezcal where it has to. I think the way Eric put it in the last review was there can be no metal involved.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, basically no metal, and it has to be distilled in clay pots, which I love because for 2019 we tasted the whole line for Don Amado, and that's all ancestral at clay pots. Oh my God, it was heaven, and it was at higher ABV. Now the funny thing with this is that Eric, it's coming. This is first of all, and I should really mention the folks' name. Do you have that email handy or?
No.
There was a gentleman that made this happen. Grupo Destilador Alza is the people who are commercializing this. But there was one particular gentleman who was really nice to make this happen. In late November, this brand, along with others, was on a barnstorming tour of the United States looking for representation. So at this point, when you see this, this may or may not have been in the United States yet. And Eric and I, regardless, Eric and I are probably two of the first gringos to taste this mezcal. But here's the deal. It is coming in at 38 ABV, which leads me to believe that when it does come into the United States, it's going to come in at 80 proof.
Yeah.
What do we know about the aging process? Because look at how dark this thing is.
Yeah, it's really dark. You can see that. So there, I got a nice amber, dark mahogany kind of color there. But so this mezcal has been aged for 24 months in Canadian white oak barrels. They don't say anything more, so we don't know if they're new or they're used.
And how do we know they're Canadian?
Yeah.
do
So
they have?
I suggested that if they're used, maybe they're coming from, a Canadian whiskey distillery, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
But
We're surmising by the clues that we're given. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, 24 months. So, and it's got real nice, rich color.
That's beautiful. It's very attractive visually.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at the bottle too, this is a stock bottle. You folks who are watching us on YouTube have probably seen a lot of different tequilas bottled in something like this, and it's just a stock bottle. Again, the label and the logo is really where it's at right now. Hopefully, once they gain some traction either in the United States or elsewhere, the probably part of the marketing plan is to change the bottle and go into something a little bit more proprietary.
Mm-hmm.
This is really a beautiful look.
Yeah.
For a mezcal. Now, again, Eric and I we haven't pulled any punches, and we have told people we're pretty much traditionalists. We like smoke on our mezcal. We like, most of the mezcals that have smoke are joven, which means they're not aged.
Right.
Unless you're looking at the line from Scorpion Mezcal, which does a beautiful, beautiful job at 80 proof. Although they do have the Scorpion line, which is a much higher ABV and different varieties of agave. You got some beautiful legs and tears on this thing. Just really gorgeous. What kind of nose do we get?
So initially, I think there's a lot more of the cinnamon character that we noticed in the Reposado on the nose, but there's also, I'm getting good notes of cooked agave, and then at the same time, there's just a touch of alcohol, but it's not too sharp, and it's mixed with this like bright fruitiness that still carries through from the Blanco. So
now at this point, the wood, and I think you and I have gotten past the fact that this is technically a mezcal.
right.
So that being said, I'm sensing in the barrel notes maybe some I don't want to say dried fruit because but I'm getting sweet fruit, moist fruit, sweet fruit, like a ripening fruit maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not necessarily dried fruit like you would get in an extra añejo tequila maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean there's something going on here which your brain can, and this is the weird thing with smell, right? Because your brain processes these aromas and is like, what was that thing I smelled 15 years ago that was like that?
Yeah.
So you can go in a couple of different directions here with the aromas, but there's this, I'm getting almost like a note of like a papaya.
Okay.
Like
a tropical fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mixed in with the agave. Yeah, and I feel like as it's been in the glass, I feel like it's developing even more.
Yeah, to be fair, these bottles come sealed. They have the safety pourer, so there's no real oxygen that gets into the bottle even after you open it. So it's got to bloom in your glass. Now, both of us are using a Glencairn for this.
Yeah.
And the more we stir, the more of the aromas are coming through. And I see where you're getting at with it's almost like a candied fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's more, like as it's breathing, it's more tropical fruits are coming through. Feel like candied pineapple, maybe. Something. It's interesting. I'm ready to take a drink.
Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. Nice. That's really lovely. Wow.
Great finish.
Yeah.
Wow.
So one thing that's always often a challenge with añejos, especially in mezcal, because you don't see a lot of them, is that at 2 years they're like over oaked, but this, like, maybe it's because it's at 38%. Maybe it's because they're using Canadian oak. Who knows? But
maybe it's a trend that more tequila companies need to follow. Instead of the Jack Daniels,
right?
Get some Canadian Club or
Yeah, but it's like the wood character is really soft, and so there's a lot of like sweet fruitiness that shines through. It's really, really nice.
Well, and again, like you said, it doesn't drown out the Blanco. Because here again, they're using blue agave in Zacatecas.
Yeah.
Okay. And with the Blanco, Eric said he was conflicted because, we're so used to having a joven, an unaged mezcal, with the smoke, and there isn't any. And as a matter of fact, I said that the Blanco is very much akin to a Highlands Blanco.
Yeah, or at least even without smoke, more of a like rustic character.
Yeah,
you get, the rustico mezcals that you guys
Yes.
had.
Yeah, yeah.
So on the palate, I'm not getting really much of cooked agave character. It's a lot of spice, a lot of baking spice, uh and like candied fruit, but it's really soft and lovely.
Yeah, this is again, if you're a mezcal person and you can get past the fact that it doesn't taste like mezcal that you're used to.
Right.
And as I've told Eric, I said if I was tasting this blind, this would be a great tequila.
Yeah.
We'd be rolling all over us. I was going, yeah, this is a great tequila. Um, I know that you had some reservations once we tasted the Repo as to their the market, where they were going to fit in the market because um, it's not the here's the other thing that I think is very key to this brand is the fact that we're even when we taste an espadín that take the with no smoke,
Mm-hmm.
the espadín tastes different.
Yeah.
This is so much like I'm tasting an añejo from a tequila company
Right.
that it's hard for me to try to pull out anything mezcal like.
Right.
But I do like the fact that if in fact they're using Canadian barrels or Canadian whiskey barrels, that it's making that difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And here I feel like this is the only instance where I feel like the 38% bottling is a little bit weak. Like the other two have really, like, there's a ton of character in the Blanco and the Reposado, even at 38%. Here I feel like hitting it up a couple of notches to 40, I think would be much better. With the other two, there was like, it'll come in at 40.
Right.
It'll be just as good as it is at 38. But here with the Anejo, I think it's a little bit weak on the finish at 38. So coming in at 40, I think might just be the right spot for it. But the flavor wise, really nice.
So in all actuality, what Eric wants to see is he wants to see this at 80 proof.
Yeah.
He wants to see the añejo come in at 80. And the reason I say that is because what's interesting is we tasted Alex and I did a tequila last year called Califino. It only comes in reposado, añejo, and extra añejo. It was so good. The progression of the brand was so good that I said to Alex, I want to taste this as a Blanco. I want to see what they start with.
Right.
So in your case, you really, if I had a wish, you would like to see this at 80 proof and taste the difference and I think you're right. I think that it needs with the color what it is and the fruitiness, it probably lacks just a hair of the boldness that I mean, if you're going to go tequila,
right?
Tequila, because again, you and I have had last year we had miel de tierra, and the extra, it was an extra añejo or an añejo.
No, just añejo.
It was añejo. It kind of fell flat.
Yeah, yeah.
And this one didn't do that.
No.
But it would, like you said, amped up a couple notches. It would be just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. There, I thought my hypothesis was it was just too well distilled. And so putting it in a barrel just kind of like washed it all out.
It's almost too good.
Yeah. But this has a lot of character, a lot of nice, like now I'm getting some more like raisins.
There you go. That's what it was.
In it. So there's a lot of complexity here. If you like aged spirits, I think this is going to appeal really well to people. And if, like I said, when it comes in at 40, I think it's going to be that much better.
And what I'll do is when we get off the air here, I will send him a quick note thanking him again
Yeah.
for making this happen. But if and when they come into the United States and they get representation or distribution, or if they're looking for an importer, um, I will ask him if it would be possible to get it at 80 proof.
Yeah.
And then you and I can do maybe even a side by side 80
Yeah.
versus 4. I think it would be really interesting for the listeners and the viewers to see how a couple of notches
Yeah.
changes things. Maybe, and again, maybe for the European palate or the Mexican palate, this kind of a finish or this kind of an ABV is appropriate. Yet
Right.
for us, and especially for a guy like Eric, who's so used to having these bold, whiskeys and bourbons in your,
Yeah.
the kind that are in your face.
Yeah.
God, if maybe they should hire you and let you do the tasting for the final, for the final, 80 proof when it's going to come in, because I tell you what, personally, now you on camera we talked about maybe pairing the reposado with a cigar.
Mhm.
We would probably pair the same cigar with the añejo, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. But this to me is like a dessert. Like this.
Wow, you're harsh, man. You're hard to please.
No. So no, I think this would pair well with the same like medium to full body cigars. But even more so, I think this is like the end of the night, like after dinner, like dessert drink. Because it's got some really nice like fruit, like dried sweet fruit characters mixed in with the spice that's just like really nice.
So like what, with a creme brulee or maybe a flan?
No, I mean, I personally, I would have this instead of sweet.
Oh, instead of dessert. Okay. All right. So not paired, but instead of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I love the sweet notes on the side of the glass.
mm-hmm,
It's really I'm getting like honey
mm-hmm,
and caramel and it's just like butterscotch. It's butterscotch.
yeah.
Well, so can we safely nominate it as a gateway brand of promise?
Yeah.
I think you're right though. I will send him a quick note and see if we can't get the version, the 80 proof version, and I would love to do that side by side with you just to see, just to prove, to show, again, listeners and viewers how, a couple of degrees in alcohol by volume makes such a difference.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but 2% can make a big difference.
Well, even in some of the artisanal mezcals that we get, some of the gateways come at 40, but yet you see I'm starting to see more and more of the artisanal mezcals coming in at 42 to 45.
Yeah.
I personally, I like mine a little bit higher than 45, but those are the ancestral, the good old fashioned ones. But I got no problem between 42 and 45. There's a lot of character.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of character at that. Because for me, I've always said, at least with tequilas, anything below a 38 or above an 80 proof or 40 ABV, there's. I think the flavors are really there. To me, the flavors are way better than at 80 proof. I think isn't 80 proof, just for the referee ruling, isn't 80 proof just something that came across during Prohibition so that you can be taxed at 80? Isn't that the deal?
I don't remember exactly why 80 proof became the sort of like minimum bottling. But that's what it is. I mean, so for whiskeys and gins and vodkas, anything distilled in the U.S., the minimum for spirits is 40% alcohol. And so the consequence of that is that any imported spirit has to match that. And so that's why, while this is at 38 for Mexico, it has to come into the U.S. at 40 at a minimum. So Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why that was, because like the original Bottled in Bond Act, which was in 1897, that set the minimum for that standard at 100. But then years later, they decided, well, we can drop it down to 80 for the as the minimum, but I don't know. I don't remember why exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. Well, that's our take on La Leyenda Mezcal. Yes, it's mezcal from Zacatecas made with blue agave,
Mm.
and we're assuming from all the clues that we've been given that it's aged in Canadian white oak. Um, if that's what they're saying, then cool. Then it's Canadian Club and Crown Royal and whatever else, what other Canadian whiskeys barrels that they're buying in a secondhand market. It is an industrially made mezcal, so there's no smoke, but
Mhm.
we like it. We really enjoyed all three varietals. It's all three of these are Brand of Promise nominees in the
Yeah.
Mezcal Gateway category, which we've always recognized. So that's our take on La Leyenda. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman helping me through this whole journey is
Eric Zandona in Vancouver, Washington.
you have been watching and listening and maybe even sipping on Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching us or wherever you download your audio podcast. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.